2024 has been murdered by some unknown assailant. Its body was found left on the side of the highway, but do not fear because 2025 is here and New Japan is going to hopefully be bringing us some incredible action this year. In 2024, not the best year for New Japan, but definitely some big highs, some awesome matches that we are going to talk about this year. Not nearly to the quality of New Japan in the past, but there were some shining stars this year for us to look at, enjoy, go back and watch, and just overall luxuriate in their greatness. We're looking at the best characters, the best action, the best storylines, the best crowds, the best drama of the year. We're starting at number 10, going all the way up to number 1. If you like this video, consider checking out some other videos I have on the channel. I have my top 10 AEW and WWE matches of 2024. Later this week, I'm coming out with the best TNA matches, the best women's matches of 2024. So stay tuned for those. If you like the video, please consider subscribing, leaving a like, leaving a comment, as it really does help me out. But with all of that being said, let's go ahead and get into it with the 10th best New Japan match of the year. Starting at number 10, we're going with a match that doesn't get a lot of love or credit for how great it is, probably because it's so short. It's from the Windy City Riot, fought for the New Japan TV title, under 15 minutes. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Matt Riddle. The TV title has really produced some incredible matches in its short reign, but it does have the distinction of having all of its matches have a 15-minute time limit, so it can't really go into that 5-star banger territory that you normally associate New Japan with. But that doesn't mean you can't have great action like we saw at Windy City Riot. Zack Sabre Jr., I don't like using the term best technical wrestler. I would just say he's one of the best wrestlers all around on planet Earth. But this match really did display his great technical wrestling prowess. Going up against Matt Riddle, someone recently released from WWE, starting to make his name on the indies again, coming into New Japan and starting with a real banger of a match. This is quick, fast-paced, technical action, while in the end getting to devolve into that hard-hitting, brawling style that these guys have been able to capture so well in the past. They've had 20, 25, 30-minute matches in the past that have been incredible, and they took everything that was great about those matches and cinched it down into about 12 minutes. Absolutely great match. If you haven't seen it, go out of your way to see it. 10 best New Japan match of the year. Next, we are looking at Power Struggle, a show that you will hear a lot about in this video because the final 3 matches on it were all incredible. And we're starting with the junior heavyweight title match, Doki versus Master Wato. This was a really great match throughout that peaked so high at the end. If the last 2 minutes of this match weren't in it, it wouldn't even bother this list, but it has one of the best finishes of the year. I'm not going to spoil it for you because it was so great. And I remember I was watching this match in the break room at work, and I had to really hold myself from jumping out of my seat and going, oh my God, what am I watching? Because there was a bunch of old men eating their food behind me who would have thought I was a freak. But an incredible finish that elevates this match into the top 10 list, into position number 9. I had such fun watching it throughout, but it just does such a great job about building to that crescendo at the end and then absolutely nailing it. Love this match, number 9. Next, we are moving on to the G1 Climax, and a lot of this video is just going to be bouncing between G1 and Power Struggle for great matches. For the G1 Climax, our first G1 match on this list, Konosuke Takeshita, who was a standout star in this year's tournament, taking on another standout, in my opinion, Yu Yamura. They had... oh my gosh, the dynamic in this match was incredible. It's not the best action you'll see in the G1 this year, but the story of Takeshita being the guy coming in, the outside talent who comes in and is just so dominant throughout this tournament and has the best matches and isn't getting beaten a whole lot. Now going up against Yu Yamura, who is someone who is a New Japan original, a New Japan lifer, it seems, who's coming up, has a very simple style, and is sort of the underdog of the tournament. And those two different dynamics, those real-life dynamics, weave their way into kayfabe to create such a special match where you see Takeshita dominating and you say, oh man, Takeshita's awesome. But then Yumura comes back in a way like I've never seen him do before. He's able to take those simplistic things, which he's so great at, the sort of day one wrestling moves, which everyone learns that he's learned to just execute so perfectly, and make them like they are being executed as a near fall in the main event of WrestleMania. They have that kind of energy to them. So, such a great match and a surprisingly great match, in my opinion. It's one of those lightning in a bottle matches where you look at it and go, that is a match they can only really have once because they're never going to be able to capture that surprise dynamic again. Great match, number 8. All right, let's jump back to Power Struggle and let's talk about David Finlay versus Taichi, a match that I absolutely loved. Not just for the ending, where we had Sonata turning heel on Taichi and joining the Bullet Club, but for all of the great action throughout. David Finlay is someone who I always associate with great wrestling and someone who I feel does a surprising job about pulling out people's best matches. A guy who definitely doesn't get a lot of love online, with Taichi, someone who is very fun to watch in the ring and a good worker, but not someone I normally associate with greatness. But they went out there and just they meshed so well. It's one of those instant connections that some wrestlers are able to have where they just work incredibly well together. And that's what we see in this match, knowing that there's no way Taichi is going to win this title. But them being able to convince you through the course of the match, no, he is going to win it, and just creating some incredible near falls as a result. A great match. I thought easily this would be the peak from Power Struggle because I didn't think anything could top this. Something did, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, but still a freaking phenomenal match. Next, we're going into a string of G1 matches. We're starting with Zack Sabre Jr. taking on Shingo Takagi in the semifinals of the G1. A fantastic match. And you're putting two of the best wrestlers in the world together, so of course they're going to have a great match. I feel like the term best wrestlers in the world gets hyperbolized a lot, even by myself. But really, Shingo and Zack are two of the best, the greatest. And they go in there and they have styles that complement each other so much. Shingo is sort of the hard-hitting brawler, while Zack is the more technical wrestler, but they're both able to maneuver into each other's fields enough to really create some magic. And that is what this match did. This series of matches in the semis and the finals set up the G1 to really have one of the greatest stretches of matches this year, and this was just an absolute high point of it. Continuing in the G1, we are moving to the finals where we're talking about Zack Sabre Jr. taking on Yota Tsuji. The reason this match is so great is because you have two people who both have justifications for winning this tournament. You could realistically see both guys taking the victory here. Yota is the up-and-comer, won the New Japan Cup early in the year, but couldn't get it done against Naito. If he wins this tournament, he has another shot, and you know Japan is going to be pushing him as one of their top guys in the future, so it makes sense for him to win. But his story of the tournament has been he's trying to bring it home. This is his last chance. If he doesn't win the top title here, he's never going to be the top guy in the future. So both guys had such great justifications for winning. And this match did a great job about really keeping you guessing the entire time who was going to take home the victory until Zack was just able to cinch it in the end. That's why I think I love this match more than the Shingo match. It's probably, in terms of work rate, on the same level, but their ability to keep you guessing through the entire thing, immaculate. We're still in the G1, but for our number 4 entry, we're going a little bit earlier in the tournament, looking at Shingo Takagi versus Gabe Kidd. The reason this match is so great is it does something that is so hard to accomplish in wrestling if you're not named Tomohiro Ishii. There is this style, this strong style, brawling sort of concept of a match that so many wrestlers go for, where you exchange chops, you exchange forearms, you don't do a lot of big high spots or a lot of amazing things the crowd hasn't seen before, but you try to bring this energy by doing suplexes and really trying to make the fight seemed believable. A lot of no selling, a lot of power up spots, and you try to strike this kind of energy. And matches so rarely are really able to get that kind of energy in a believable way to where the crowd just stirs into a frenzy and you're going, how are they kicking out? How are they still going? They legitimately should be dead by how ridiculous some of these moves are. They're dropping each other on their heads with suplexes. And this match nails that tone. It's so incredible. I was a fan of Gabe Kidd before this match, but this match made me fall in love with him all over again. He's so charismatic. He's so dynamic in the match. And the more stoic Shingo is the perfect baby place for him to play off of. Everything in this match coalesces into having an absolutely great match and a really out of nowhere banger, in my opinion. Number 4. We are officially done with the G1, and for number 3, we're going back to Power Struggle, now looking at the main event and a rematch from the G1 Climax, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Shingo Takagi. We talked about it a few entries before, and they had a rematch here, and it was even better, because everything I said earlier, the physicality, the action, them being two of the best wrestlers and able to coalescing into each other's styles, that was present here. But it was the main event of a pay-per-view for the top title. So it had this extra aura to it that the first match didn't have. And rather than seeing two guys trying to strive to be in the main event scene, you're seeing two guys firmly in that main event scene, firmly placing themselves atop the New Japan world. And it's great to see. They had an incredible match. Meltzer gave it 5.5 or 5.25 stars, something like that. I don't think it's quite that good, but it's such an incredible match and finds itself at the number 3 position on this list. For our number 2 entry, we're going all the way back to the beginning of the year at Wrestle Kingdom, Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada. I love this match so much. I was so blown away when I watched it because I saw them have a great match at Forbidden Door the year before, but it didn't really hit that peak that you would expect Danielson versus Okada to have. And that's because they were saving it for this match. This match was absolutely incredible. Told such a great story with Danielson having the eye patch, so sort of going in wounded and then sort of trying to overcome that to beat Okada. And it really did feel like these are two of the greatest wrestlers in the world, both from a kayfabe perspective and outside of kayfabe. And it felt like a big fight. Like, who could possibly win this? Who is gonna take home the victory here? Okada doesn't have many months left. He's going over to AEW. Danielson is a staple of AEW. What storyline are they gonna drum up that they can run back in AEW? And everything in this match came together. The action was so crisp, so beautiful, and it hit a crescendo that their first match really wasn't able to. And I think it helped that they were in Japan, so the crowds were more like there for Okada and obviously loved Danielson there. So I think the crowd really elevates this match a lot for me. Incredible match, but not the best of the year. Not one of those matches that I necessarily think in 5 or 10 or 20 years to come, wrestling fans will still be talking about as one of the greatest matches of all time. One of those pinnacles of the sport that stands out in wrestling fans' minds as one of the greatest achievements in a ring ever. It's not quite able to get there, but our number 1 pick is. They had a 5-star match in 2023 at Wrestle Dream. They ran it back at the New Beginning in Osaka. Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. had one of the greatest wrestling matches I've ever seen. And people like to say this is the greatest technical wrestling match I've ever seen. And while that's true, I feel like it diminishes it. Because this is truly just all around great wrestling. And it's not just them grabbing holds and rolling around on the ring and throwing in each other in rest holds. It is dynamic storytelling throughout the entire match. And I've talked about this before. This match is helped so much by it taking place in Japan, where throwing on a unique hold or getting a rope break out of a submission is essentially a high spot for them, and they will pop as such. They just brought this atmosphere to the match that wasn't present at Wrestle Dream, and this match is better as a result for it. It's art, and it's more artistic than anything I've seen this year from pro wrestling. Often, pro wrestling gets this reputation, rightfully so, for being sort of soulless and just a bunch of moves happening in front of you, but this was art. This was two guys creating a beautifully well-crafted story in there. You know, people call SmackDown cinema. This was cinema, and it's one of the highest achievements in this art form I've ever seen. The pro wrestling, the fundamentals and tenets of pro wrestling done to their highest capacity to make something that transcends the art form as I have ever known it. So there's nothing else that could be in this number one spot. One of the greatest wrestling matches I've ever seen, and easily the best New Japan match of the year. And that's the list. I want to know what you guys thought in the comments. Was there a match I missed from New Japan this year that should have been on this list? Were things ranked too highly? Was there anything that could even come close to beating Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr.? I want you guys to let me know down in the comments below. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing and leaving a like, as it really does help me out. As I said, top 10 WWE matches and top 10 AEW matches of 2024 are already up on the channel. TNA and the women's matches are coming a little bit later this week, so keep your eyes out for those. With all that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video and all the support that I've gotten over the course of 2024, and I'm looking forward to continuing in 2025, and I hope you guys are looking forward to continuing with me. I've been Isaiah from Hot Tag Wrestling. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.